exhaustive lecture. I am not a lecturer. I run workshops on a regular basis, and I try to keep these workshops as personal and as relatable as possible. I ask that for the efficiency of time, if you have any questions, please jot those questions in the chat. And after the presentation, I will come back to the questions, and we'll answer all those questions towards the end of our presentations. All right. So let me present my screen to everyone so you can see what I see on my side. Vusi, can you please be my eyes and ears, right? Can you see my screen? Yeah, lovely. Awesome.
Yes.
All right. As I mentioned, my name is Tato, and I'm the founder and CEO of Reissa. And basically, what we will be talking about today is I put together a very short presentation just to give everyone a view of the opportunities in e-commerce, and using a particular framework that we apply to our customers, and we call it the 5 pillars of success, in terms of you understanding what's happening in the industry, and how you can get going with your own online store and make a success of it. All right. My brief background outside of Reissa, I have over 15 years of experience, in business development, digital marketing, and entrepreneurship. My first business, which is called Tribe Activations, started in 2012, and we do brand activations. And in 2019, we started, or rather at the end of 2019, we started Reissa, and I've been a digital entrepreneur ever since. What Reissa has done is we've empowered over 1,400 SMEs to set up their online businesses and to basically sell across to various audiences across the country, certain parts of the world. And we've really just empowered them with these digital tools, but also with training. Apart from my day-to-day activities as a business owner, I am also a student. I'm currently doing my MBA at Henley Business School, and that has been a 2.5-year journey. And while I'm not a student, I also, I dabble into various awards and being recognized, by platforms such as TransUnion as the top entrepreneur for 2024. And also I am one of 76 Google-backed tech founders across the African continent. All right, so that's just a very brief background about myself, but that's the last time I'll ever talk about myself. Now I am talking about e-commerce and the exciting world that exists, within the space, right? So why did we start this business? And the story is quite straightforward. We have a big problem, but at the same time, we have a big opportunity. As the positivist that I am, I always look at things from a positive point of view. But I recall in 2020, I was looking at the stat. This particular stat, this pie that you guys are looking at right now, was slightly different in 2020. I think in 2020 we had just under 80,000 online stores, right? So if you check on your right-hand side, what it says as 134,000 detections, what that means is there are 134,000 online stores in the country, in South Africa, right? As of the 7th of March, 2025. When I was starting this business, it was just under 80,000. And essentially on the other side, there are 2.2 million online, 2.2 million SMEs, right? Whether those SMEs are formal or informal, there are 2 million of them that are registered, right, on the SARS database or the CIPC database. And I'm sure there's probably double that number if we include informal ones that are not registered, right? So you have 2 million online, 2 million SMEs on one side, and 100,000 online stores on the other side. That means we have 10% of SMEs that are basically selling online. And that's a problem on one side, but an opportunity on the other side, because what happens to the other 90% that are not selling online? That's a big opportunity for them, right? The story of Reissa is we always wanted to set up an easy online business that that made it easy for SMEs or an entrepreneur to basically set up an online business and connect with customers all over the world, if that's what you want to achieve, right? And the current players in the space is Shopify, it's WooCommerce, it's Wix, it's Reissa, it's Equid, and various other software businesses that actually provide the solution. All of them come with their own pros and cons and ways of work. But the whole opportunity here is that this 90% that is not selling online, they're basically missing out, right? And what you are missing out on in terms of not selling online is the fact that when you have an online presence that enables you to exchange money with your customer as well, is the fact that you are able to reach more customers, right? You achieve an expanded market reach. So let me make an example. Assume I am at Clearwater Mall in the West Rand of Johannesburg, and I have a shop or I have an office there. Where I'm situated is basically where I'm going to get customers, right? Customers need to come to me. They need to either call the business, and they have to travel from wherever they are to where our store is. By having an online presence, we're not just exposing our business to our geographical location, but we basically reach anyone that we feel is our persona or our target market, and we are able to basically engage them, and hopefully we're able to sell to them. Selling online also enables you to achieve a very big opportunity in terms of data-driven decision making. So what that means is every time we're making decisions on the activities that are happening on our online store, we use data. We use the insights that we are looking at. So as an example, if I'm advertising on Meta and my customers are coming from Pretoria, then I have a decision to make. Do I carry on advertising in Cape Town and Johannesburg when 90% of my traffic is coming from Pretoria, right? That enables me to make a decision to say, okay, stop advertising in Cape Town and Johannesburg, maybe focus all your attention in an area such as Pretoria, because that's where your traffic is coming from, right? But I'm making a very broad example. Another example of data-driven decision making is you can run an advert, you can run promotions on your online store, and you pay attention to who is coming onto your online store. What pages are they going onto? Which products are they spending the most time looking at? Which products are they selling? Which products are they not selling? And essentially that type of data enables you as the business to make real life quick decisions in order for you to constantly do what we call iteration. Vusi will touch on iteration on her side of the presentation and how that manifested, for their business. But running an online business it gives you this real-time data that helps you to basically be as flexible as possible while leveraging off profits and managing your costs, right? I am of the opinion that having an online business enables us to reduce our costs and drive more efficiency. So what I mean by that is, again, making the example of a physical store. If I am in a shopping center, there's rent that I have to pay, right? That rent is probably 5 times, 10 times the cost of what I'd be paying towards my online store in terms of a monthly basis. There's staff that I need to pay. Staff doesn't go away. That's a fixed cost that we all incur in some way or the other, but I have to also pay higher fees in terms of my marketing and getting people to see my store as they are walking past the shopping center or wherever it is that my physical business may be, right? But having an online store, I can choose to run this online store this month and switch it off next month without having the landlord shout at me to say, hey, you signed for a 3-year contract, right? You can pivot the store at any given time the way that you want it to be. I can change my business model. Maybe today I was charging once-off fees, but next month I want to try out subscriptions where I charge people a monthly recurring fee. And all I need to do is to just change a couple of options on my website, and basically the store is running. So in terms of cost reduction and efficiency, I am of the belief that having an online store is much easier compared to the traditional brick and mortar, right? But I'm not here to say, try this, don't do that. I'm really just here to share a different perspective on reviewing or viewing how you can view the opportunity with selling e-commerce or rather adopting e-commerce for your own business, right? You also achieve customer convenience and personalization. That's to say, customers basically go onto the online store wherever they may be, at their house, after hours, 24/7, 365, and they basically just buy from you instead of them having to wait for the next day and travel to you, right? You also achieve a lot of scalability and agility in selling online because you can decide how you navigate and pivot your online store. And I'll show you examples of how you can achieve that by selling online. And I'll also give you some examples of how we're doing it for our own business. And similar to point number 4 around like the customer experience, selling online also enables you to enhance your customer interactions, right? You can have a chatbot on your website. You can have a chatbot that directs customers directly to your WhatsApp number, where you can engage with them on a one-to-one basis. So you engage with them on a one-to-one basis with the DMs on social media, right? And the most important, or the biggest opportunity here, is the diverse revenue streams. So unlike a physical business that may have one specific revenue stream, that's to say they enable people to come to the store and to make a once-off purchase or a regular purchase, depending on when the customer comes in. With selling online, you can have a monthly subscription type of business model. You can have a service type of business model. You can have a product type of business model, whether the products are physical products or digital products. You can really just experiment with various diverse revenue streams that you can consider to adopt for your specific business, right? So while we build on those opportunities, the 5 pillars that we think are important to consider, for your own business is firstly, choosing the right business model that will help your business to manage the costs and basically grow and leverage your revenue opportunities so that your online store and your overall business can grow as fast as possible. Pillar number 2 is to build this online store on a reputable platform and consider quite important elements, that we'll touch on in terms of how do you know if you have a safe and secure online store that makes sense for your customers to buy on, right? Pillar number 3 talks about attracting the right customers, understanding who those customers are and how you get them. And this pillar talks about how you can run various marketing activities online to basically interact and bring people to your online store. Pillar number 4 talks about how you can convert and retain them. And then pillar number 5 is how do you optimize for growth, right? So we'll start off with pillar number 1 on business models. So I don't know if anyone is or has been exposed to the business model canvas, but this is a tool or a framework that we use a lot in our own business. We adopt it for our own business requirements, our own business needs, but we also help our clients to utilize the business model as well when they create their online store. So basically, the reason why I have this is that I wanted to give you a view of how, or the different elements that you need to consider before you even start your online store, right? The business canvas is another version of a business plan, if I may, where it gives you a view of which customers do you want to engage with, right? I've engaged a lot with SMEs that say, no, our customers are SMEs, or our customers are big business, or our customers are anyone that's looking for this particular product. And that's okay. But we feel that there should be a deeper research, to say, okay, yes, my customers are anyone that is looking for an e-commerce business, but it's actually small businesses that may have 1 to 10 employees in their business, and they work in retail, right? You need to be as specific as possible for who you actually building this business for, or this online store for, right? And once you've identified who your customer segments are, you need to understand which relationships you want to have with them when they come onto your online store, right? Once that is clear, You need to understand as to which channels you're going to actually utilize to reach your customers. So this canvas that you're looking at is just a very basic view of the different aspects you need to consider before you set up your online store. We are all in different industries, and we will all have different business canvases, if I may put it that way, right? But this is just a very generic business canvas that you can consider if you are willing and looking forward to actually selling online. No, these are just different aspects that you need to consider. A very important piece within this canvas is the value proposition. That's to say your promise, your so-called promise to your customers when they come to buy on your online store, right? Some of the things that you can use is the fact that your online store generates personalized recommendations. Your online store is easy and safe and secure to basically buy from, right? And you deliver within 1 day or within 5 days, whereas your competitor might deliver within 10 to 14 days. But ultimately, it's important to have a value proposition that essentially puts everything together in terms of understanding which customers you engage with and how you deliver your online store to these particular customers. Once you've identified your business model, it's important to have a very clear idea on the niche or the audiences that you want to cater for, right? So I'll touch on briefly what these words mean. But before I go into these words, I think it's important to just state what a customer persona may be. I made an example of like our customers that say it's anyone that is looking for this product, right? But we push them to dig deeper, to say, no, be specific. You know, what is this person's so-called name? Because that person would essentially represent a group of other customers, right? If we look at a clothing store sells t-shirts and pants and shoes and accessories. That clothing store might have several customer personas, right? It has the people that are just looking for the t-shirts. It has people that are just looking for the pants. It has people that are just looking for the shoes, if I make just a very basic example. And essentially, those so-called people we make imaginary personas where we give them a name. And once we've given them a name, we have descriptions that really just give us a better idea as to who these people are. So if this had to be Tato, we would call this person Beanie Tato. And Beanie Tato represents other customers that only come to our shop to buy our beanies, as an example, right? And if this is Vusi, and Vusi is only coming to our shop to buy our latest teas that come from Kenya all the time, then we will know that we will not sell Vusi our t-shirts and jeans because she only comes to our store to buy the tea, if tea is what we are selling. So with selling online, it's very important to also have a very clear view of what your customer personas may be. Of course, if you haven't started to sell online, then you wouldn't make use of these types of personas. But if you already have a website, these personas might also be relevant to you, right? And what they mean is the following. So you have bouncers. Bouncers are the people that come onto your online store. They may have saw an ad and they clicked on that ad by mistake, or someone told them about your online store and they come on the store, but they don't spend a lot of time. They spend less than a minute, right? It's not to say they are not your customers. They may not be ready to buy at that particular time. So what they are looking for is they are looking to feel safe. They are browsing. They're not sure as yet what they're looking for. They may have come in there by mistake, but you want to make sure that you keep them on the online store so that they stay on the online store as long as possible so that they can become a buyer, right? You also have personas that we call passive browsers. So these passive browsers, they may have heard about your business. They saw your link on social media. Someone told them about your website and they're really just browsing. They're not buying anything as yet. And there's a way for you to engage with them, right? To get them from passive to active, where you want them to at least put an item in their cart and essentially become a first-time buyer. The cart abandoners are the ones that are on your online store. They're highly engaged. They have put one or two items in their cart. I'm Tato. I love coffee. I drink coffee. But I met Vusi a couple of days ago and she told me that tea is a healthier option, right? Now I will go to Vusi's so-called online store and I will just have a view of the different teas that are available. But I'm not sure. I'm not ready to make the sale as yet. And I'll just put items in my cart. And the best way to keep those personas engaged is maybe offer them some type of offer, whether it's a discount that you're offering them or whether it's a much more cheaper alternative or what we call a grouping of products. So Tato, if you buy one, you'll get it for 100. But if you buy three, you'll get it for 120 rands, right? The cart abandoners, you want to engage them and keep them on your store and push them to either buy more or make that purchase immediately while they have the item in their cart. And then, of course, you have the people that have parted money with you. You have the first-time buyers that have bought the cheapest possible item from your store. With these guys, the opportunities that you have with them is to wow them, is to impress them with your high-level service, as we should all do in any case, right? So you want to make sure that you impress them with your reliable service. You want to make sure that you give them all the right information upfront so that they come back to you. And you also want to encourage them to come back, whether you give them an incentive to come back or you ask them to give you a referral to someone else. Your first-time buyers are the ones that you want to just make sure that you made happy immediately from the get-go. And then you have the first-time buyers that normally would buy a very expensive item, right? Depending on what your business does. And they have very high expectations. They expect you to show up and they expect you to take care of them. They are looking for personalization and they are looking for other reasons why they should buy more from you. Right. So these first-time buyers, we in our world of tech, we would call them, they might be a premium buyer. There might be a buyer that buys our most expensive monthly plan. And essentially, these are the buyers that you build your biggest profit margins on, right? Because they are purchasing the highest expensive product and there's a lot of margin in that product. So you want to make sure that you keep them in the business, you get them, or you encourage them to bring more buyers that are spending more average revenue with you. And ultimately, you want to make sure that these two types of first-time buyers, they become repeat buyers, right? Whether you keep them as repeat buyers on a subscription plan that you create for your business or on a coupon plan where after a certain number of purchases, you give them one free item. There's a coffee shop that I normally buy from. And on the 10th coffee that I normally buy, I always get that coffee for free, right? That has made me a repeat buyer because I really like that feature. So you can choose to add that feature in your online store so that you get people to come back on your online store, right? And the discount chasers and the impulse buyers, they could very much be within the first three audiences that I mentioned earlier on. And essentially, these guys, they're not sure what they're looking for. They are looking for offers. They're looking for cheaper ways to get the product that you are selling. And you are looking at opportunities to get them to purchase, whether you have a pop-up that gives them a 20% discount when they purchase, or you have a headline that says, sign up for our newsletter and get 30% off, 50 Rand off, 100 Rand off your next delivery. You want to make sure that you engage with those people. So these different types of customers, this could be very much one customer that goes through your customer journey or your sales funnel. But most often than not, this will be different representation of all the different types of customers that come into your online store, right? I can even remove online and say, and consider your business right now. For every new person that you engage with, they don't buy immediately, right? Even for the vaccines that we had to take when we were experiencing COVID. Some of us didn't take that vaccine immediately. We wanted to do our research. We wanted to talk to other people to get their view. We wanted to talk to someone that was experienced, a professional, a doctor, a nurse, before we took the vaccine, right? And that is called the funnel or the sales funnel or the customer journey. And essentially, if we think about it, the customers that come to our business, that engage with us at any different point of their customer journey, they all represent a different type of customer. And you have to think of, how do I group them? Because the customers that come here, there are over 100 SMEs in this webinar. I know that there's a handful of them that will come to us and inquire about some of our services. From the time that they inquire, there are those that will not engage with us, and that's okay. They might not be ready as yet. There are those that will not engage with us now, but they might come back in 3 days' time, in 30 days' time, in 3 years' time. And essentially, those are all the different personas that you want to ensure that you are aware of for your online store. And the most important thing is to have a tactic to capture the data at any given point on your online store, so that you remarket to them and you engage with them over and over again. All right. So once you've identified your business model and the niche that you want to service, it's very important that you are clear from the get-go as to who do you want to service? Who do you want this online store to service? Are you a B2B online store, or are you a B2C online store? What's the difference? B2B is basically businesses that sell their services and products to other businesses. Let's make an example that you see here is Alibaba. Alibaba is a marketplace, but it's a B2B marketplace. And what that means is Alibaba has 2 parts. The one part is they have various suppliers that sell their products and services to retailers that basically want to buy at cost and want to order in bulk and basically make those clothes, or not clothes, but supplies available to their customers in their own markets, right? That's what Alibaba does. So another example is, let's say you are an office furniture shop. You sell office furniture to other businesses that may be looking for furniture. That's an online B2B business, right? On the flip side of that, you have Amazon, Takealot, Amazon, Takealot, One Day Only. There's various other marketplaces that offer B2C type of business models. So what that means is they sell their products directly to the end customer, directly to you and I, who are looking for that particular product, right? There's no wrong or right business model here. There's a business model that suits your business strategy and the capacity and resources that you have within your business. I'm anticipating a question that we may see here later on, in terms of, I may be a B2B2C. And what does that mean? Reissa, our platform, which is a software platform, could possibly be considered as a B2B2C. So what that means is we give SMEs the technology to create their own marketplace, right? And that marketplace will sell to your end customers. That could be considered as a B2B2C. However, our software is strictly a B2B business, but we could also be considered as a B2B2C. Uber, as an example, is a B2C type of business. But Uber can also be considered as a B2B2C, where I'm making now an example. I may need to deliver my item to Vusi, who needs to sell it to her clients, right? And what that means is I may be a supplier of the package. And I send my package to Vusi, who needs to take the package and put her tea bags in there so that her end customer can get the full product, right? That's a B2B2C type of business model. But for online, the most common would be B2B or B2C. And you either have a marketplace, and we'll talk about marketplaces later on, or you have a strict online store that connects you directly to your customers, right? Then the next decision that you need to make is, what type of products do you want to sell? Are you selling physical products? That's to say, this product will be felt and experienced by the customer, or are you selling digital products? So when it comes to physical products, retail, just to give you, share some stats with you, retail is the biggest benefactor of selling e-commerce or selling in e-commerce, because the physical products that retailers sell, those are products that customers want to experience immediately, right? Whether you are selling consumables such as food or beverages, or you're selling clothing, whether it's headgear, shoes, t-shirts, or even selling, like, botanicals such as flowers or electronics, right? Those are all forms of physical products that people give money to you, and you basically package it and you send it to them. I have here the Takealot the Takealot screenshot and Amazon, and I just want to explain the difference between a marketplace and your own online store. So your own online store is basically your own media, if I may put it that way. That's your destination, and you own the entire value chain. Your customer comes to you, they go to either reissa.co.za or thesis.co.za, and they basically come into your world where they see only your products, right? And the website that they go to is your own website. And that has its own strategy. I'm not going to say sell on your online store, don't sell in a marketplace. I'm not here for that. I believe that they all play a different part in the value chain, and Vusi will also share her experience, right? And the marketplace, Takealot and Amazon as an example. Those are marketplaces where you almost think of a physical grocery store, right? You are paying for shelf space, if I may put it that way. You share a certain number of your products with this particular marketplace, and they expose your product to their community of customers, right? The opportunity that you have there is that you can just give them your product, and you lean on them to sell and market this product on your behalf. Whereas in owning your own online store, the responsibility for marketing and acquiring customers sits on you, right? Can you have an online store and a marketplace? Yes, you can. Why? Because of customer personas that I mentioned earlier on. The customer personas that come directly to your online store, you can consider them as your tribe, right? These are my everyday people that come to me. And then the customers that go to Takealot, you may be looking for a wider reach of customers, and they love Takealot. They trust Takealot. And so if Takealot is promoting it, then they want to buy directly from there, right? There's no wrong or right way to actually sell online. You can sell on, like, marketplaces, and you can sell directly on your own store, right? You can also consider to sell services, right? I've engaged a lot with people, with professionals such as accountants that say, I sell a service. Can I sell my services online? Yes, you can. However, that would need a certain level of standardization. So what I mean by that is if a customer comes to you, and you sell hours as an example, you need to make it easy for the customer to understand how those hours are packaged, right? So if I'm Tato and I'm a coach and I charge five rand per hour for my consulting services, right? That's what the customer needs to be able to see on the online store without having to engage with me over the phone, right? Other examples of businesses that are selling services online: Uber, the transport business, and Uber Eats, the food business, right? Uber doesn't own any of its fleet. It doesn't own any of these restaurants. They've just made it easier for you to order an item from the menu, and it gets delivered to you, right? Sweet South, which is, I'll call it a marketplace with respect to them. But basically, Sweet South has made it easy for service providers, whether it's a gardener or someone that wants to clean your house, or someone that wants to help you move your furniture from point 1 to point 2. Sweep South has made it easy for you to engage with these people, right? Where immediately I come in, I tell you what service I'm looking for, I tell you when I need it, and it gives me an array of various service providers, and depending on their rating, they come at a certain cost, and I can choose to basically make use of them. Another popular example is Airbnb. Airbnb basically enables me to find accommodation anywhere in the world, right? Depending on its rating, depending on the number of rooms or the date that I'm traveling on, they all come at different prices. And if I have to go back to my financial example that I made earlier on, This is a system that we use for our own business, QuickBooks. QuickBooks has basically made it easier for me as a so-called small business to make use of an accounting system without having to rely on an accountant or a financial manager in my business, right? QuickBooks can help me to create invoices, quotations. It can help me to do my budgets and do my recons, depending on how my financial month or year end has basically progressed. And I can also do my returns. Before a system such as QuickBooks was ever known to me, I would have needed to rely on my accountant to basically help me with all of those things, right? So all these business models have had to achieve a certain level of standardization. That's to say, make it easy for your customer to choose whatever it is that they're looking for, and the price just needs to generate, right? So that's how you can sell services online. And resell services. So we sell a software service. If you're looking to sell online, we have 3 plans. We have the free plan that's only available to you for a certain period of time. We have the entry-level plan that's available at whatever, 500 Rand a month, and you can load up to a certain number of products. And then we have the business plan, which goes at a certain fee. It's a higher fee than the venture plan, but it comes with more features, right? And those, before that type of arrangement, you would have needed to engage with a website designer or developer, and they would customize, they would charge you on each customization that they do, right? And essentially, that's how you can standardize the services. I need to move on fast now. You can also sell digital products online. Examples of that would be Netflix. These guys hire movies out to you for a monthly subscription. Spotify also does that in terms of you pay a monthly subscription and they give you a wide array of content that you can consume, right? You can also sell your own ebooks online, or you can sell your own courses online. This is another space that we play in through our academy, where we're selling our courses online, where our customer pays a monthly fee to get access to the wide array of courses. And essentially, that's how you can sell those digital products online. If it doesn't, if it can exist without having to be physical, then it's what we call a digital product, because it just needs to be downloaded or it needs to be streamed, right? So once you've set up your business model and you've identified who you want to sell it to and what type of products you want to sell to, it's important that you set up your online store, right? And the most important pieces that you need to consider here, whether you host your store on a platform such as Reissa, Shopify, WooCommerce, or Equid, it's important that whatever system you use, they give you the highest level of security and the highest level of experience when you are building your online store, right? When you build this online store, it's important that you put mobile first. So what that means is, remember that your customers are buying on your phone, right? 90% of customers are accessing the internet through their phone, right? And so you want to make sure that whatever it is that you design, it appears accordingly, it appears appropriately on a mobile phone, regardless of what that mobile phone is. We call that mobile first design. You want to ensure that you have strong product images and SEO descriptions, and I'll show you how that looks like. I might as well just scale to it. So what product descriptions are, right? You want to make sure that the name of your product is visible. It's not just a denim jacket. It is a G-Star denim jacket. It is a Vusi's tea brand, as an example. Vusi, sorry, I'm chopping up the name of your brand here. But you want to make sure that when you add your product names and your descriptions, your brand name is always in there, and you give a description to your customer so that you give them reasons why they need to buy from you. Right? It's highly important that we call this SEO and meta descriptions. So when you add your product, you shouldn't just say t-shirt. You should say linen t-shirt from SME South Africa, limited edition, only 5 of them available, right? And you mentioned the sizes, you mentioned what fabrics it's made out of, you mentioned why it's special. All of that basically contributes to your SEO. It contributes to how Google identifies your website online, right? You're not just doing it because there's nothing better to do, but it's a highly important piece of information that you are putting online, because once you've created it, It exists online. It never goes away unless you switch off that particular product or website. That's the only time that it actually goes off, right? You want to give case studies or testimonials to your new customers, right? I just added some examples of stores that have been created on our platform. We use that as a case study. But maybe you have testimonials that you want your new customers to basically have a view at. You want to make sure that you have some form of live interaction with your customers. And this is a live chat that's available that you can add on your online store. Some people add their WhatsApp number and it takes the customer directly to the WhatsApp in case they want to engage with you, right? Most importantly, if I try to zoom here, you want to make sure that your online store is safe and secure. If you have a website that does not have a lock next to it, your website is not safe. Your SSL certificate may be expired, and you need to get help in terms of getting a secure domain so that your customers can buy from you, right? Because when someone is buying from you, they need to make sure that their details, the information that they're giving to you, is safe and secure. The payment gateway that you use, it should be safe and secure, and you should keep your customers' data safe and encrypted, if I may put it that way, right? All these pieces of information basically make it easy for your customer to buy from you, right? Once you've done that, once your store is up and running, you are hosting it wherever you wanted to host it, you now want to be found online. And I'll skim through this very fast. You want to make sure that you are running paid ads, whether you run those paid ads on Google Ads or Facebook ads or LinkedIn ads. You want to make sure that you're running ads. You want to make sure that you're positioning yourself as an expert, right? In terms of driving content marketing and showing why you're the expert in this piece, right? Or in this environment that you're selling into. Again, by positioning yourself as a content marketer, that contributes to SEO and how you rank or how your website ranks online, so that people find it easier, to find your online store and to buy from you. You want to ensure that you are engaging with your customers, through email. And ultimately, you want to have a streamlined and a seamless sales funnel, right? Where you can engage with customers at the awareness stage, at the interest stage, and basically at the action stage, right? I added an example here. I'm not going to go through it in detail, but basically this is a sales funnel. You have the entry channels, that's the ads that you would be running. You have your lead capture and your trust building level. This is where your customers are engaging with you and you want to show them reasons why they should trust you. And you also want to show your expertise on why they should buy from you. And then ultimately you have your purchase, right? Which is the conversion. And once your customer has purchased from here, then they are advertising and they talking to other customers about your business. And it's a repetitive process that helps you to become a sustainable business. I added some examples here of various Google ads that you can consider. Remember, Google ads, when you run a Google ad, your advert can be shown on all of Google's assets, right? Whether it's Maps, whether it's YouTube or Gmail, your adverts will be shown on those platforms. If you are driving adverts on Meta, that's Facebook. Your adverts can be shown on Facebook, Instagram, and on WhatsApp, depending on how you've actually designed it. You can run ads on TikTok. You can also run ads on LinkedIn if you are a B2B type of business, right? Content marketing, this is just an example of how we do content marketing in our business. We create blogs. We repurpose these blogs as a vlog onto our YouTube page. We repurpose these blogs as an email. We also repurpose it as social media so that we have an integrated approach, right? Your approach may be different, of course, but the reason why you want to be in the space of content marketing is so that you can showcase the expertise that you have, because we are all experts of the particular product or service that we offer. That's the reason why we started the business that we've started, right? And customers are looking for education. The best way to convert customers is to share your knowledge with them. I'm sharing my knowledge right now, and that might result in one or two people either liking our social media pages, either following me or the business, or either ending up as a customer, right? Those are various ways that we basically play in the content marketing piece. And then the email space, I'll add email and WhatsApp marketing here. But ultimately, email is free of charge. You don't spend any money on sending an email to a customer. You build a customer list, and it's free to engage with your customers sending email, whether the email is a outreach email where you're engaging with someone that has never spoken to you before, or it's an email that helps you to keep your community going so that you increase the number of people that are touched by your business. Email is a highly powerful platform that can help you to generate sales, but also to build trust, right? So now you've executed all of these tactics. Your business is generating traffic. These are just some, this is now pillar 4. These are just some aspects that you need to consider. I've already spoken about some of them already, right? When people are already on your online store, you want to make sure that you provide multiple payment options. Bank EFT can be a payment option. Buy now, pay later can be a payment option. Pay by card or pay by Bitcoin. Those are all payment options that customers can consider, right? The more you have, the better options for your customers, right? I know when I buy online, I know I always take the PayPal option because then I don't have to take out my card. I always just go into my PayPal account and then I can pay through my PayPal wallet, right? You want to make sure that you use top quality images. You want to make sure that you build trust with your customers by either showing them what other customers are saying about you or the case studies of work that you've done. I'm not going to go through all of them. I think like we've just run out of time now. But ultimately, these are all the 10 ways you can ensure that you convert your customers, right? At all the levels of the customer journey that they are going through. A very important and strong marketing tactic that is coming into that's becoming popular, if I may, is omnichannel marketing. You want to make sure that you are engaging with your customers where they are. So if you send one message to say hello, there's a system that you can use where that hello can go to their email, WhatsApp, their social media, and ultimately to a phone call, right? And that's called omnichannel marketing. There's a platform that we use, it's called Infobip. You can also just check it out. And then essentially you want to ensure that you track all your data, right? This is now putting everything together. Remember that when you have an online store, you can track the data. You can check how many people are coming to my online store, how many of them have become sales, which pages do they spend the most time on, which products do they not engage with, or which products do they engage with so that we can sell more of it, right? And essentially, Vusi will touch on that in terms of how they track their activities with their business. But essentially, the whole point and the whole presentation that I've built on here is you want to ensure that you are attracting, engaging, and you delighting your customers across all these different aspects that you can consider so that they constantly coming back. It's not just a once-off activity, but it's a continuous activity, again, just bringing them to your online store. Mistakes that you should just be looking out for is launching without a clear audience in mind, right? You'll be wasting money. If you're not sure who your audience is, rather test out with some of the people that you're currently engaging with. The other problem or the other mistake that you should avoid is launching a store without a marketing plan or a sales funnel, because we've had a lot of people that say, I have an online store, but no one is coming. This thing isn't working. And it's like, no, the online store is just the beginning. The marketing plan is a continuous thing. And Vusi will talk a lot about iteration, right? Experimenting and always just trying out various marketing activities so that you bring people to your online store. A poor customer experience on your online store, not having security on your online store as an example. That's a poor experience. You don't want to do that, right? And also just doing too much too soon. You don't have to do all of the things that I've mentioned earlier. You can just start with a content plan. You can just start with social media marketing. Once you have that running, you can then start with Facebook advertising. Once you have that running, you can open up to something else, and you just do it as a small, gradual experiment that you keep growing with. All right. And essentially just pick one small step and then just grow to those big wins. All right. And I think that's the end of my side before I hand over to Vusi. All right. I'm not going to go into the questions. We'll go into the questions later, but let me give my colleague an opportunity to say her piece. All right. Thank you very much. Over to you, Vusi. Let me stop presenting.
Awesome. Thank you, Tato. Good afternoon, everyone. Oh, afternoon, everybody. So like the team had said, I'm Vusi Maunga. I'm the owner of Love Tea Time. So just a bit of background again, been in the corporate space and the product development space, focusing on mobile payments at different banks, streaming companies, also currently doing my MBA at Gibbs. And I'm an entrepreneur, an entrepreneur actually, founding different businesses. So Love Tea Time being one of them. I've also done a wedding day where I used to do flower arranging, wedding decor for brides who wanted an African aesthetic, and also do consulting under Inclusion Fusion, which is just to assist small businesses like yourselves to start up, as well as corporates when they want to define a strategy in digital and mobile payments. So just like my colleague Tato had said that I'll be touching on iterations, I'd like to share my tea journey with you guys. So as an entrepreneur, I started Love Tea Time in March 2017. It feels like a lifetime ago. And when I first started this business, I obviously purchased my first box of tea. I was actually in Kenya at the airport by my boyfriend, who's now the husband at the time, a box of Kericho Gold tea. And I needed to sell this. So for me, Love Tea Time, the word love is obviously that's how the business started. There's a formation of love there. And tea just had to be the magic ingredient. So I started trading at pop-up markets. So my first market was a cow house out in Pretoria, and I went there and I sold a box of luxury tea box with 40 tea bags inside. Got there at 6 o'clock in the morning, set up my table. I was ready to sell. The customers were coming, but no one was buying this thing. And I was situated between two stands, one stand that sold farmers' knives and the other stand was selling cocktails, etc. So I'm between alcohol and a nice fun hunting experience. And I needed to get customers to purchase this luxury box of tea. I got my first customer after 8 hours of standing there and trying to sell this one box of tea that I loved so much. So I want to touch on why iteration is important, because when I went back on the second market, I then said, okay, maybe I can't sell the tea on its own. Let me bring in some tasters. Let me sell some hot cups of tea. Let me serve a slice of cake. So every single market, I went into what we call iterations, improving, incorporating something different. Around market 6, we started doing iced tea. We found that there's a captive audience in children. They love sugar. So we did blueberry iced tea. We did some ginger and lemon tea. And then, we expanded our payment methods. We started offering more than cash. We had a speed point device. We had a miniature Yoko. We started accepting card payments, started accepting QR codes. So I have a saying that you never miss a sale. So I had literally every single payment method you could think of, we accepted it. I also then realized that customers don't only want to buy the luxury tea box. They want individual flavors. They want to only buy ginger and lemon. They want to only buy apple and cinnamon. So I started bringing in individual tea boxes, black tea, and different types of teas, so that our customers are given a diversity and a huge range that is available to them. So thus far, we've traded at over 250 pop-up markets across Pretoria and Johannesburg. And then I needed to expand. And this is where this e-commerce story, starts, is I needed to grow. I needed to, if someone has now bought this box of tea at a pop-up market, they want to replenish. So Tato alluded to a repeat customer. For me, e-commerce was where I would get my repeat customers who've tried and tested this at a pop-up market, were likely wanting to replenish, and they would come to e-commerce. He also mentioned knowing your audience and knowing your niche. And I want to touch on that. It is very important to know who your tea customer is. The tea aisle is overwhelming when you go into a grocery store. So I know that my customer is someone who has traveled to Kenya and now wants to replenish their stock. It's my customer who loves a good quality black tea. It's a customer who wants to try fruit teas, infusions, and experiment and make iced teas, etc. So I know that my customer is not the person who wants to spend 20 Rand for a box, but is willing to part with more than 200 Rand for a box of tea. So it's important to know your audience and to know the niche market that you're focusing on. The second lesson I want to touch on is about financials and break-even point. So Tato also alluded about rent. As an entrepreneur, you want to access markets. You want to sell this product that you're offering to your customers. So for me, my fixed costs were the rent that I'd pay at these pop-up markets. The rent would go anything from 250 Rand a day to 1,000 Rand a day. So irrespective of whether I sell one box or 100 boxes, I still have to pay that landlord their rent. So I started calculating break even to determine how many boxes of tea I have to sell at a particular market in order to cover those fixed costs. So it's a very important calculation to have and to do as an entrepreneur, or else you're just continuously trading at various markets or various expos and not being able to break even or even make a profit, because ultimately that's what we are in business for, to make money, right? It's also important to keep records, right? To make an Excel spreadsheet or use one of these accounting platforms. Record your sales, record your costs of sales, determine what your profit is, see what is costing, what are these expenses that you're incurring in order to run a pop-up market or to run an activation or tasters. Even little shot glasses, those are an expense, and that stuff has to be recorded in order for you to calculate your profits and your loss. I touched on it in this iteration around multiple payment methods. So it's important for you to never miss a sale. Make sure you give your customers an opportunity to pay using any payment method. Have card, have QR, have e-wallets, cash send, you name it. There's a plethora of payment methods that is out there. Just make sure you never miss a sale. I want to also touch on a very important lesson around innovation and localization. It's important to, and I'll touch on localization first, to know that not all markets are the same. So I've tried two markets. I've tried a market in Emirancha, and I've also tried a market in Soweto. My market in Soweto, people would come and say, why must I spend 99 Rand for a box of tea? I only want to buy one tea bag. So I realized that I have to actually open up the tea box and sell one tea bag. And then I started selling one tea bag for 10 Rand. And it's me understanding that this particular market that I'm selling to right now doesn't want to buy a whole box of tea. They just want to buy one packet or one sachet or one tea bag of ginger and lemon. So it's important to know what that specific local market you're targeting. What do they like? What is their behaviors? What is their persona, their profile, And innovation, guys, it's very important, it's part of the iterative process. I started, it was just a box of tea. Then I roped in husband, and we started making iced teas, adding blueberry and sweet chamomile iced tea, apple and cinnamon, and orange spice, and just trying out different flavors and seeing what do our customers like, what could they like. Sometimes customers don't know what they like, so it's you putting things out there for them to try. Other lessons is around accessing to markets, guys. It's about this hybrid approach. Having physical spaces, having online spaces. There was a question in the chat earlier about how do you create visibility about your brand, So if you want people to touch and feel and taste and use their senses to experience your product, it's important to have that hybrid approach. So for me, like I said, the image on the right, I started at a pop-up market. My first sale, My first stand was just a tablecloth, black and white stripes with tea. And the last square, you can see, I had to reiterate and iterate and change my stand, make it colorful, make it bright and beautiful. Because when you go to other markets and you see what your neighbors' stalls look like, you really need to, up your game. So by the time I reached one of the markets, the Halal Good Expo, my stand was, very vibrant. I had fruits, I had testers, I had branding, I had invested in this tea business. And then obviously I complemented it with e-commerce. I had those online store or online marketplace through Takealot. So I signed up on the Takealot website, and then I onboarded. How that process works is you could either be a lead time seller. So that's what I was. You would buy. So you as a customer would buy online. I as the merchant would deliver to the Takealot warehouse, and then Takealot put my tea, the Karicha Gold tea, and any other goods into that box, and they deliver to you as a customer. So it's important to have that hybrid approach. But just because you've got access to markets, guys, doesn't mean it's going to equal sales, So it's also important to ensure that you keep on promoting your business. So in the image on the left, like I was alluding to, this halal goods market, whenever I traded at the markets, I would post on WhatsApp, on social media, hey guys, find us at this particular market on such and such a day and time, come and purchase and come and try out Karicha Gold teas. And on this particular slide, I want to land the message about starting with what you have. So I was driving a little Yaris at the time. I didn't go off and go invest in a bakkie and a truck just to go trade at a pop-up market. So if you can see, I had a gazebo, I had 4 foldable tables, and I had a branded Love Tea Time stand and one of my teologists. And we were able to pack all of that stand into the Yaris and be able to commute from Joburg to Pretoria. So you don't always have to invest and you need millions and thousands. Just start where you are with what you have. I want to go back to the access to markets. If you do groceries, the tea aisle is very overwhelming. There are so many brands. So I approached one of the retailers, which was Spar at the time, and I was like, please, can I come and sell at your store? It's also easier to also approach the franchise-owned stores because the business owner is very active in the business. So they're able to do the terms of negotiation much quicker. So I landed on 2 shelves, but the tea just stood there, and I was like, why is no one buying? So then I started doing activations in the retailer, and I was offering guys samples and testers so people could walk away with a tea bag that they could try at home, or they could have some tasters in the store. And then ultimately that would lead to sales. So once you've tasted, you love the product, I'll be like, hey, please add it to your trolley, and then go cash up at the teller. One of my other lessons that is very pertinent or very important in my business is the exchange rate. And because I import, I also need to watch what is this rand dollar exchange rate looking like, because this has a major impact on my financials. When I started the business, the rand dollar exchange rate was at 11 rand to the dollar, and then it gradually increased to 13 rand. During lockdown and that COVID times, it hit the peaks of 19 rand. And I mean, that hits your margins big time for someone that has a very low margin business. So it's also important to know what are your heavy cost drivers in your business that impact your profitability. I want to touch on visibility. Go back to the basics, back to the 4 P's of marketing. What are you selling? What is the product you're selling? Or what is the service you're selling? Be clear and explicit about it. When Tato was alluding to search engine optimization, be explicit. What is that product you're selling? So that when you do a Google search for Karicha Gold tea, you must be listed there. It mustn't just be tea. Know what price you're selling it for. There's nothing people hate as when someone says, hey, I'm selling tea, but then they don't mention where do you buy it, what kind of tea is it, what are the benefits, and then there's all these Facebook comments and questions, in the chat. Where do I get it? How does it taste? All those things. So if you go back to the basics, you're able to get over these challenges and give your customers a really good customer experience. Being an entrepreneur also opens up other career opportunities. I was able to now understand Takealot from, the marketplace perspective and engage them with regards to roles at their marketplace division a couple of years ago. And for me personally, I call it my blended identity. So I call it a tea tales of business. So it's also a play on words, Vusi-ness. And because now I have a blended corporate and entrepreneurship profile, so whenever I engage with any other stakeholders, I'm able to present two sides to what Vusi has got to offer. So just to echo my colleagues' sentiments around what is the difference between owning your own store and having a marketplace? So things to consider when you have your own store, you have to set this thing up. So either you can go with your Shopify's, etc. But then you also have to maintain the store and you have to pay a monthly fee and ensure that there's traffic that is coming to that fee, to that site, I mean. So it's also important to weigh up those options. When you go the marketplace route, that is already set up for you. You just have to log on to that portal, upload very clear photos, and your pricing for your customers to see on that merchant portal. So it's a very different infrastructure and config that you have to go through in terms of the difference between owning your own store and a marketplace. Things to also consider, a payment gateway. There's a lot of payment service providers that are out there in the market. Some of them charge a flat fee, others charge a tiered fee. So it's also important for you when you're making and calculating your costs to see what are these payment gateways or payment service providers charging in order when you have your own store. You also have to consider logistics. So when you have your own store, you need to also either integrate a courier company or have your own courier company. So I currently use things like Brima Logistics or Remit Logistics, and then they come and collect the stock at my property, and then they'll be able to then deliver at Takealot, who then on delivers to you as the customer. If you have your own store, those are the things that you now have to think about is that last mile. So you are going to deliver to the customer either door to door, or does the customer collect at your warehouse or your house? So it's very important to think of the customer journey from a logistical perspective. I've touched on marketing. Always remember your 4 P's of marketing. There's nothing the image on the right always, how do you price this product? How do you market this product? How do you communicate this product? Do you say to your customers, the box of tea is 200 Rand, but shipping is 50 Rand. And then people are like, going to say, it's expensive because it's quarter of the price. Or do you actually just say the tea is 250 Rand, delivery included? Just check that queue even becomes longer, because it's just that fee that the customer doesn't have to, see it or complicate their lives, because you want to give them a good customer experience. It's important to, analyze your traffic, your conversions, and your sales funnel. Tato went through this in detail, so I think you guys can play that back. But it's also very important to know that sales on an e-commerce store that you own and sales on a marketplace store that you own are going to be very different, because on your own store, you now have to drive traffic to this website. So I used to have my own standalone store. There's days when no one used to visit my website. A month would go and no one used to visit the website, but I would be paying Shopify that fee, So it's also important to know how much traffic is going through the store, and is it still worth having your own standalone store versus selling at a marketplace? And also selling on a marketplace, it's also not that easy. I remember the first month I only sold 1 box. And then the next month I sold 10 boxes, and then it started increasing. But I was also very proactive in marketing. I would leverage my social media. I would say, hey guys, we are now on Takealot. You can find this Karicha Gold tea. Please click on this link. So it's also very important to spread the word and market your product, because ultimately it is your business at the end of the day. And cash flow, guys, cash flow is king. And cash flow is reality. So the nice thing about Takealot, and I allude to it because I sell there, from a cash flow perspective, they pay out every 7 days, which is quite nice, whereas some of the retailers take a bit longer. So that is also something you must consider when you have your own store versus marketplace versus going into retail. So this is just a view of our macro environment. If you guys, let me take you way back into 2020 when our president announced 21 days lockdown, and I was trading at pop-up markets, and everything, the world came to a stop. I couldn't trade at markets. So if you can see this orange line at the bottom, all my sales in pop-up markets just disappeared. But because I had an e-commerce strategy for Love Tea Time, I was able to still continue selling on platforms like Takealot, because then those kind of businesses were still able to operate. And luckily, something like tea was an essential good. We all need a good cup of tea. So customers were still able to purchase. So this is just a view of how my sales transpired when we were in self-isolation, when we were in lockdown, and going through those weeks. And just a piece of advice, guys, I want us to just stop working in silos, to collaborate. We're all on this webinar, and I think if you can just take 1 or 2 minutes of your time to post, who are you? Like, who is on this webinar? What is your business about? Share those links, share those social media handles, because you never know, your next customer can be there, your next partner can be there, your next supplier can be there. It's just about us being able to network and collaborate and not work in silos. I mean, if someone on the chat is doing gifting and I'm doing tea, hey, that's an opportunity to collaborate. You can add a little tea bag in a book, have a book and a cup of tea. So we must open our minds to collaboration and, stop working in silos. We must start small, start with what we have, and the yes attitude, and constant iterations, and, just trying different things, and just continue following your dreams, continue trying out things, continue iterating, and just trying things, and always start, just start. Start with what you're great at. Start with what you love. Start with what the world needs. Find, common ground or purpose. There's a book out there about Simon Sinek. If you don't know your why, maybe it's something you can start watching. He also has some YouTube videos out there. Start with, why are you doing what you do? Because then that also keeps you going when times are tough. Entrepreneurship is not easy, and when times are tough, you must still need that thing that anchors you, and that keeps you going. So just my last point is, before we jump to questions, I'm going to toggle. So if you can just bear with me, is just to sum up what we've just discussed, I would like to share a video. I'm Vusi Maunga, the owner of Love Tea Time. I import Karicha Gold from Kenya, which is teas. I'm a one-man band. So what I decided was going on to Takealot Marketplace so that I can reach these different provinces, different areas across our country. I could have opened up my own website, but then I'd need to integrate a payment gateway and pay monthly fees and merchant fees and commissions. It's also allowed for me to have a shop that is open 24 hours. Funny enough, my best times of sales is between 8 o'clock and midnight. So who buys tea at that hour? I've experienced 100% growth year on year from the time I actually onboarded on Takealot. So it's been really great. I've seen a lot of increase in sales, in product performance, as well as profits as well. I was walking out of the airport buying my husband a present, which is a luxury gift box. And I fell in love with the apple and cinnamon. I turned the box upside down, got the details of the manufacturer, called him up, and I was like, I need to bring this to South Africa. And that's how the business started. So we've been running for 2.5 years now and really enjoying the process. I've got black teas in string and tag and round tea bags. I've got luxury gift boxes, which are variety packs. I also have attitude teas. I've got hangover teas, pineapple and mango, and vanilla teas. So it's a broad range of various teas under the Karicha Gold brand. The piece of advice I'd give South African entrepreneurs is to just start. Get into gear one and put it into action. Get your brand and yourself out there. And I think once we do that, then people will know about you and you won't be the best kept secret in South Africa. Cool. So I want to encourage you guys to not be the best kept secret in South Africa. I want you guys to connect with us, LinkedIn, Facebook, social media, chat on the chat. This is a great forum with SME South Africa. They've got great resources about how to get onto e-commerce, but let's grow together, build this network. And yeah, thanks so much for the opportunity and your time. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Vusi and Tato, for sharing all of the insights you have today. It was quite extensive from both a business owner side, but also somebody who's knowledgeable about using tools such as Reissa for building your own marketplace. So we do have a couple of questions. I see you both were very active in the chat, answering people as we go. So if I can just use this opportunity to discuss a little bit more some of the questions that were highlighted. So one of the things that was mentioned was, is an online store safe? And is an online store also registered like a normal business?
I saw that question and I believe I answered it briefly. So it depends. It depends how formal or informal your business is, firstly, in terms of whether the online store needs a business to be registered. We are an online store and we are fully registered formal business that pays VAT and tax. Someone else might have an online store informally because it's a side hustle for them and they might not have the business registered on CIPC. It really depends on what it is that you seek. In terms of safety, I believe I've shown you aspects that you need to pay very close attention to determine if you are on a safe website, right? It's that lock right at the top of the website address. That is probably the biggest flag that will give you that will just give you a view of whether you are shopping safely or not. And then the payment gateway as well. How you know whether a payment gateway is safe and secure is every online store needs to have a gateway that has the Visa and MasterCard badges. Those badges are only given to a gateway that is PCI DSS level 2 in terms of security. That's the highest level of security. If there's none of those badges, then you are not on a safe store, and rather you call them or you go to the physical store if they have.
Wonderful. And Vusi, something you answered in the chat already as well, but I don't know if you'd like to maybe elaborate. How do you compete against businesses like Temu and Shein? I mean, they're everywhere. You can't escape their ads. How do you show that your business, your e-commerce business, is different from those platforms?
Thanks for the question. Yeah, I think just to reiterate that it's very important to have that blended approach, that physical as well as the e-commerce, and e-commerce complementing physical spaces, but also physical spaces complementing e-commerce. So if you take the brands like your Shein and Temu, etc., and if we, let's say, focus on fashion, people want to touch clothes. People want to, feel the fabric, the quality. They want to know, does it fit? We all come in beautiful shapes and sizes. So let customers experience that in a physical space. And then they'll either buy it there and there, or they'll say, I'll purchase online. And once they've tried it and, it fits perfectly, the chances are that they'll be your repeat customer and come and replenish, online. So it's very important to try and find and strike that balance, between the two. If it's, other products like, is it toys, is it books, etc., I really advocate for places like pop-up markets, because it's a nice way to get to be with to face your customer, eye to eye, and get that first piece of feedback from that customer. And then it's also that kickstarting opportunity to start reiterating, seeing that, is it the right product, is it the right style, is it the right content for my customer? So finding that blended approach, which would be where I think merchants would be able to compete.
To add on to that, is to also have a hyper-local focus or a hyper-local strategy. I remember when we first started, we drove to Soweto and we engaged with as many stores as possible, because we knew that we didn't have a Facebook budget or Google budget to compete with the likes of a Shopify. The customers that we started back with in 2020, they still are customers right now, because we had a very focused local take, in terms of our go-to-market strategy. And we also kept it quite personal. With today's no-code tools, you can create a very personal experience for your customer online, on WhatsApp, even without having to spend a lot of money, right? And by keeping it personal, by keeping it local, you're basically doing what Temu and Shein can't do, because they obviously at scale, and numbers also make sense, but by keeping it hyper local, where that you have your customers in Pretoria, this is how you talk to them. You have your customers in Cape Town, this is how you talk to them. That basically gives you a level of intimacy with your customers that those bigger platforms can't achieve.
Awesome. And then one last question that definitely stood out to me is, maybe you can speak to it from your experience as business owners, but how do you build that emailer, those lists for your newsletter marketing or your email marketing? How do you start by building those lists if that is a affordable way you would like to market your business?
Vusi, do you want on? Yeah, you
Cool.
can go.
So in one of the things, so back in the day, and we must also be cognizant of being POPIA compliant and, carrying and having people's data. So it's something that people must be aware of or cognizant of. But, when you do pop-up markets, one of the things I used to actually do manually was ask our customers that, would you like us to communicate any specials that we have, any upcoming flavors, any where we're going to be trading next, and just jot down, their details while they are with you there. That's one of the ways people can kickstart the process of building up the email list. Tato?
How we build our email list is we teach people. We give a lot of our time for free, where we host a lot of webinars. Where we found that webinars are probably one of the best ways to get in front of several people and get their contact details. Of course, in order for them to get that link to the webinar or invite to the event, they need to give you their details, right? Once we have their details, we make sure that we are POPI compliant and we get their their approval to send them marketing information over and beyond that particular webinar. But ultimately, we repeat that process over and over again. We find content that we want to talk about. We set up a webinar that will run for an hour, 45 minutes. And essentially, that's how we get people to share their details with us, and we create a movement. So we create a community similar to how this community is growing. We also do it in a similar fashion.
Thank you so much, guys, for sharing all of that interesting information, and that we could share this moment with you this morning, just drinking in all of your expertise. Thank you also to our audience for joining us. We are always very happy to see our busy chat with a lot of attendees. That makes us here at SME South Africa very happy. Please, guys, share on social media what you thought about today's webinar. And my colleague Karabo has mentioned earlier in the chat where you can find this not live, but saved, recorded on our platform if you did join late. And thank you also to my team today, who's been running behind the scenes, helping with all the technical difficulties. Hopefully next time it will be a bit better. Thank you so much for everyone for joining, and have a great rest of your day. Bye.